Pukeology Podcast, where science meets your hilarious puke stories and the tips and tricks to stop that up-chuckle that you need.
You never know what's going to spew out of her mouth. Here's
my mama,
Dr. Pukeology.
Can you believe that 12% of American United States women are infertile? And the fact that over 6% of them, so half of that, are considered infertility issues in about 1 year after trying, which means that our actual infertility rate is rising, with couples in about 1 out of every 6 couples wishing to conceive have been being diagnosed as infertile. And this is increasing at a rapid rate of 5 to 10% per year, meaning it's definitely a greater need. If you are trying to figure out why am I currently not getting pregnant, this is exactly the pregnancy podcast that you need right now, called Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, episode 62, Why Am I Not Getting Pregnant? Do you want no more morning sickness, pregnancy nausea, or how about no more headaches and migraines? Visit our sponsor, nomonausea.com, the only natural way to instantly stop your worst nausea, vomiting, or headaches now. Or just place your No More Nausea band on your baby registry for your delivery bag at Bye Bye Baby, or get it shipped for free in just 2 days on Amazon as a Prime vendor. And know that your little ones are always taken care of with the first No More Nausea Kids and No More Sleepless Nights Kids, which also fit women with very small wrists. Now available at your local CVS store. So do you want some pregnancy humor that may just make you want to pee your pants? Like you don't have to pee all the time, with stories like Laugh My Puke Out, Does Fuzz Belong in Your Juice, and Scared to Puke. If you want to learn more about your pregnancy or soon-to-be pregnancy, humor and knowledge is the key to help you survive these 9 months. And just know we're in this together. Today, you will learn the science behind what is the cause of infertility, 5 different reasons why the majority of people just can't get pregnant, and natural remedies that will help to boost your fertility. All coming up now in Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, episode 62, Why Am I Just Not Getting Pregnant?
The science of puke, pukeology.
Many of you are thinking the exact same question. You're desperately wanting to get pregnant, or you're sending this to your very best friend. I can tell you that out of all of my friends, I was the only one that did not have to undergo infertility treatment. So it's extremely common, and it's something that is such a heartache, because after you get married and you have this beautiful, what you think, white picket fence, all you're waiting for is that baby to arrive. And after year 1, year 5, year 10, you just kind of start to feel defeated. And being that I have experienced this and witnessed this with all of my friends, I'm here to tell you all of the most recent science as to why are you, or why am I not getting pregnant? So you've probably been doing it the right way. If doing it, quote unquote, is something that we're going to talk about as sex, but you might not be getting pregnant. And you're probably thinking to yourself, why am I not getting pregnant? The truth lies in several different reasons that can actually have sex but not result in a positive pregnancy test. Read on and keep listening here to learn about why some women don't get pregnant, even when they're having regular sex, because they might not just be having it at the right time. Or you have to also consider infertility happens with 2 different partners, from the mom and from the dad. So again, you have to take a look at both. And as always, as a physician, I'm always exploring, making sure that you speak to a medical professional, somebody who is also going to help you through this infertility journey. And there are infertility clinics all across the country who are more than welcome to go and help. So why am I not getting pregnant after an IUD removal? A lot of you sit there and wonder, during your younger years, you've had an IUD for multiple periods of time. An intrauterine device is one of the most typical methods that most people or most women use to prevent a pregnancy, perhaps due to its easiness of reversing it when you do want to get pregnant. While infertility returns almost immediately after removing the IUD, rarely you may be having trouble getting pregnant after its removal. However, studies have shown that IUD does not affect a woman's ability to conceive. Inability to conceive after an IUD removal can be due to an underlying infertility problem that might not have been present during your IUD use. Besides, an IUD can cause scarring of the walls of your uterus, and scarring is more likely to occur if you contract an infection during the IUD use. Scarring affects your ability to get pregnant and sadly increases your risk of having a miscarriage. Think of it as, remember, your uterine walls are what help to grasp the baby. Something that most physicians or most doctors are not talking about is if you are trying to get pregnant, don't use NSAIDs about 6 months before you're trying. What NSAIDs are is non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. Basically, those are the ibuprofens, the Advils, all these other things of the world, not including Tylenol, but Advil, ibuprofen, because remember, grabbing onto an egg is actually an inflammatory process. So if you take an anti-inflammatory, guess what's going to happen? The walls of your uterus are not going to be spongy-like, and they're not going to be sticky. So they're not going to be able to hold an egg. So again, your uterus might be ready and prepared, the egg might be ready and prepared and actually inseminated with the sperm, but your walls of your uterus might not be able to grab a hold. So just stay away if you're during your, birthing-ish years, stay away from the NSAIDs, the non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. Trust me, guys, if you're taking it for multiple different reasons, like cough and cold, there are more natural things that are out there, like the nomonazepam. So if it's because of the fact, or no more migraine or no more, which helps you to have no more headaches. So if you're taking it for that reason, just skip it and go natural with essential oil infused pressure point therapy that you wear all on your wrist, and you can find them on Amazon. Super easy. Just type in Nomo followed by the band of your choice. So once again, having scarring on the walls decreases the papillae, or decreases the hair-like particles that you have on the inside to really be able to grab a hold of the egg. Now, why am I not getting pregnant even though I'm ovulating? So I hear this from women all the time, and patients are always saying, but I have an infertility tracker. I know exactly when I'm ovulating. I know when it's egg dropping season. Yes, that was supposed to be a joke, and I hope that you are laughing at the same time. Well, during egg dropping season, that's what ovulation means. It means that the actual ovaries are releasing the egg and that they are going and falling down towards the actual uterus, in which we are hoping, fingers crossed, that the sperm is able to swim up very quickly and get through to one of those eggs. And if that happens, boom, baby is actually going to be conceived. But it still has to attach to the sidewall. Just giving you kind of like the overview picture of what happens whenever you're trying to get pregnant. So if you're not getting pregnant, even though you're ovulating, you're probably wondering why, or what are those issues as to why am I not conceiving? And so there are a few of them if you want to write them down, or you can always visit nomonage.com/blogs/health and wellness, and you can see this very blog itself. Number one is poor timing. You're not conceiving because you may have missed your fertility window. Having less sex can also make you miss a period of time when you are the most fertile. And on the other hand, overdoing it, right, might actually exhaust your man's sperm count when you need it the most. It's recommended that you have regular intercourse at least once every 3 days during your fertility window. And so a lot of people are probably wondering, what exactly is your fertility window? So your fertility window for a woman is going to be based around your ovulation cycle. It usually lasts between 7 to 10 days, And your ovulation itself is 12 to 48 hours. So really, you got one solid shot, right? If it's 12 to 48 hours, your ovulation window, and you're trying to not overexhaust your sperm, do it when it feels right. So I hate it when people or couples put restrictions on themselves, feeling like, we got to do it right now, right? The husband's running home from work, or the wife is literally getting out of her meeting, running home because she's ovulating. Instead, it needs to be passion-filled. It doesn't have to be rushed. It doesn't have to be every day. So we know that most women have an ovulation cycle right around 28 days, okay? When day 1 through day 5 is what we consider menstruation, go and skip all the way to day 10. After day 10, again, your most fertile windows are day 11 to day 16. Whereas day 14, boom, halfway, okay? So again, we're halfway there. I know I can't sing, but of 28 days of ovulation, day 14, boom, is your ovulation day, and it is the target window, okay? Your most fertile days are usually between day 11 and 13. You still have to go release an egg, boom, and once you release that egg, it still has to go in and drop in this gigantic room, which is your uterus, to make sure that the actual sperm can go and meet it. If it gets implanted, again, it can't get implanted when it's still in the actual ovarian tube, right, your fallopian tube, or else it would cause a problematic pregnancy, because you would actually literally start growing it inside of your fallopian tube, which unfortunately would end up making you have to go to the hospital and potentially losing that tube itself. So day 14 is ovulation. Now you can still get pregnant day 15 and 16. And the reason why is, ladies, let's talk about it. Sperm like to last long. So it's not just you have sex, oh my goodness, the goober snot-like stuff that comes out of your vagina happens immediately. There's still some that are left there swimming. Now what we've learned is that the mitochondria of a male sperm, what makes a little boy, right? Y, what they're giving that Y chromosome to, they swim really fast but die fast also. So that's the reason why if you're at peak ovulation, you might be making a boy. On the other hand, female sperm, which are X, because that's what it's getting from the dad actually decides the sex of the baby, the X, it can hang around there for a little while. There's actually been studies that have been done that say that sperm can live up to about 48 hours, right, internally, and they just kind of hold on and stay there. So girl swimmers or girl babies in the future tend to not be very strong swimmers. And because of that, you can still get pregnant on day 15 and 16 because it's still swimming out there. And by the time that it drops all the way to the bottom, boom, it could be implanted by one of those X or one of those girl sperm attached to the wall, and boom, you have a pregnancy. Now, day 17 all the way through 28 is just the chill period of time, and then you start your menstruation once again on day 1 of the following. But remember, the fertility windows and menstrual cycles vary from person to person. I'm a perfect example as a person who tried to do the family planning method, meaning I was attempting, besides being on birth control, to make sure that I wasn't getting pregnant. But I did not have the exact same 28-day count that most people do. Mine was actually 30 to 31, and those 2 days make a big difference whenever you are trying to use the fertility counting or the family planning mechanism. So your partner is to blame, not you. This can also happen, guys, and please don't phrase it the way that I just did. I'm talking to you ladies, but this is not the way that you want them to hear and introduce them to Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast. So about 2 out of 3 in 10 men, so 20 to 30% of men, have fertility issues. And sadly, infertility in men tends to be silent, unlike in women. Semen analysis has been done to find out the cause of male infertility. Some of the causes of male infertility include aging, which is a reduced sperm count, reduced motility, right? Sperm motility is the movement of the flagella or the whip-like tail that kind of moves, if you think of a tadpole, of how they get around, and the abnormal sperm shape. So if you're ovulating and having sex, but you still have not conceived, it's time to ask your partner to go consult a doctor about infertility problems. And I will tell you, of my friends who have had infertility issues, half of them, it was the man. It was their husbands that either they were having issues with overheating, meaning that they were overheating in the ball sack that was killing off of the actual sperm itself. They also had other issues with the motility, so they weren't able to swim appropriately. And then as their husbands, some were 20 years older than them, they just had irregular sperm, and so they were unable to get to the actual egg. Number 3, endometriosis. Having endometriosis can create problems when you're trying to conceive. Usually the uterus is lined by an endometrial tissue. When these tissues are located in places other than the uterus, which is a condition called endometriosis, the endometrial tissue can be located in places like the fallopian tubes, the ovaries, and the abdomen, and they can cause excessive menstrual bleeding, chronic pelvic pain, and pain during intercourse. Think of it, guys. It's like, imagine you having tissue of an ear all over different places of your body. Okay? You do not want ears on your stomach. You don't want ears on your behind, and you definitely don't want ears on your feet. Okay? So think of it like that. So where you're supposed to have this endometrial tissue is now growing at a rapid rate in other places where it's not supposed to be. And this tissue can cause there to be problems with ejecting or allowing the actual egg to flow out of the ovaries, to move down the fallopian tubes, and a problem when it actually hits the uterus itself, but it is supposed to be in the uterus, not in all of those other places listed. Endometrial tissue that grows in the fallopian tubes may cause scarring of the tubes, leading to infertility. Studies show that 3 to 5 in 10 women with endometriosis have trouble when conceiving. You guys, that is 5 out of 10. 50% of women with endometriosis have trouble conceiving. And most of the time they just think, oh, my periods are terrible. Now, most women with endometriosis are undiagnosed. So if you think that you have this, or that you could have had a problem, or this could be a problem getting pregnant, please tell your doctor. The only way for them to diagnose endometriosis is by taking a camera and taking a look at it. Most of the time, if you tell them, I have horrible bleeding, I soak up this many pads, I have terrible cramping, they may be concerned about the actual endometrial tissue, which is endometriosis, the condition, growing in all different ways. Now 4, you have other health issues. Let's just face it. You can merely not be getting pregnant because of underlying medical conditions like thyroid disease, diabetes, depression, sexually transmitted infection, and autosomal or autoimmune conditions. And these are conditions that are associated with infertility. And I'm going to take the first 3 of them. Thyroid disease, like hypothyroidism, which shows itself again as potentially a morbidly obese person. Same thing with diabetes, obese, not being able to control your sugars. Depression, another thing you hear, people having horrible eating habits because of the fact that they're depressed. Those 3 things and potentially morbid obesity can be a problem and a cause as to why you're not getting pregnant. And one of my attendings a long time ago ended up explaining this as, imagine you have jackets, okay? Jackets upon jackets upon jackets. And this is kind of like the coating. If you have a bunch of fat that's surrounding all of these organs, you're kind of putting more pressure on them, right? And what if they're just not working? And this not working is kind of normal. And I say that for a variety of reasons, but they have actually, there's no statistical data proving that morbid obesity causes infertility, but it's the insulation or over-insulation of these organ systems cause them not to be able to work very well. And it makes sense just from a thought perspective. The last two, sexually transmitted infections, autosomal or autoimmune conditions, are conditions of inflammation, inflammatory processes. So they can cause scarring. They can cause to where it's harder for your uterus to really hold on tight to that actual egg. And your body is constantly trying to, with autoimmune conditions, is constantly fighting itself. It can't figure out, it looks at its own body as a problem. And so all of those rationales or reasons could be continuing or could be causing your infertility. Now, if you have any of the above conditions and you bring these concerns up with your healthcare provider or physician, there are some prescribed medications that can also help with, there are some prescribed medications that actually can cause infertility. I'm not going to go into a list of them because I don't want to get sued by any pharmaceutical companies, but there have been things that have been shown that have been caused to lead to infertility, especially when it comes to the realm of people that are having chronic conditions that are constantly taking these medications. But please talk to your doctor. And I recommend seeing an alternative medicine practitioner, a physician, or someone that looks at alternative medications that have no impact on fertility. Once again, look at what you're taking. Okay, if you can lose some weight, do it. I had two of my very good friends who were morbidly obese and they lost weight and boom, they got pregnant within 2 months. And it's nothing crazy, but again, you have to think of fertility as a sense or a state of well-being. And your body wants you to hold the baby and have the best sense of well-being that you possibly can. So go talk to your doctor, see and talk to them about the medications you're currently on, and ask them, does this have any impact on me and my fertility? Now, last but certainly not least, you may be approaching menopause. Yes, I am. But again, talking about age, right? That advanced maternal age sticker of a lot of my friends that are still practicing in the hospitals, they always say, when you get an AMA, right? A sticker, a massive red light glowing neon sticker on your chart, AMA stands for advanced maternal age. So age is a well-known factor that impacts fertility. Between ages 15 to 35 years old, women are usually very fertile. And I know that I'm using such a low number. Again, 15, these are children. But let's face it, there are girls that are getting their period at 9. I do have patients that I've seen that it's mind-boggling to me. I personally was not a person that didn't get their period until she was 15. So again, there are such young children that are getting it younger and younger and younger, but the fertility window is 15 to 35. However, after 35, your fertility starts to decrease and you may take a little longer to conceive despite ovulation and getting regular periods. And I know that everybody's kind of like curious, well, what exactly are those potential advanced maternal age? I want you guys to go to the genetic testing when pregnant, okay? Hop on over, it's episode 56, genetic testing when pregnant, and please go listen. You will be amazed by how your fertility decreases. There's also some great fertility boosters in a much more medical sense, not in such a natural way that I'm going to be talking about here in the next section, but get as much information as you can. Always think the best health to be able to procreate another child. You want to be in your best health. You want to be in your best fertility window, and you want to be ovulating appropriately. So think of all of those things. Now let's lighten up the mood a little bit. I know that can sometimes be a very intense intense podcast, especially because of the fact that there are people who have to deal with high-risk pregnancies. I was one of those. Episode 36, high-risk pregnancy, can talk a little bit more about that, but I think it's really important that we look at infertility as something that there is a rainbow, right? There is a beautiful rainbow after the storm. And as long as you seek the correct medical advice, you too could potentially be having that rainbow baby of beauty. So let's get to some really funny puke stories from your colleagues that may just make you want to pee your pants, all just to break up the mood a little bit.
Throwing up on a Tuesday? One puke story.
I was watching a show or a TV show called Impractical Jokers, and one of the characters had to go undressed to an art class. He had to do these poses that his friend told him to do and was trying to cover up his goods. The second the roller coaster pose with his hands in the air and rotation of the hands started, I laughed so hard I cried. I then peed my pants slightly and I started coughing because I couldn't stop. Then the puke came up full force and my husband, watching all of this, starts dry heaving, making me puke more. Thank you for that hilarious jokester puke story. I have to say, I watched that on, I forget what show it is, but sometimes they make me pee so hard, or laugh so hard, I do pee my pants also. Thanks, little babies that caused me to do that. I loved giving vaginal birth to them. Number 2, everyone is on a health kick these days, so I thought I'd try all the rage kombucha, a fermented drink that tastes like juice. I heard of all of its probiotics and thought it would be great for my pregnancy diet. I asked the hippie, or the person selling the kombucha, if there was supposed to be growth at the bottom of the jar, and he said yes. So I took it home and drank a huge glass. The next thing I know, I was at work in a small bathroom stall vomiting kombucha, and it was strawberry kombucha. It tasted the exact same going in as it did coming out. Ew. Even worse, my colleague asked if I sprayed strawberry to mask the puke. So I responded, nope, that was just what I was throwing up. So if you ever want something that tastes the same way, coming down and going back up, guess kombucha's it. I came home from work and thought I was alone. I started taking a shower with the music blasting so I didn't hear him come in. Since I have a frosted glass door, I saw a shadow and he screamed, "Boo!" I screamed and punched the door and vomited all over him. He scared me shitless. But then he said, no, I scared the puke out of you, and we all had an amazing laugh. Do you have a hilarious pregnancy puke story that you just can't wait to share with me? Send it to me. Pukeology, Pukeology @nomonausea.com. That's NOMONAUSEA.com. Or tweet me @Pukeology so we can all have a good laugh.
Tips and tricks to stop the up-chuckle that you need.
So we've talked about the 5 most common ways or reasons why people are experiencing infertility, from timing all the way to age, and believe it or not, even what your health conditions look like. So let's talk about natural ways to boost your fertility. Okay, so if you have your notes out, get ready and make this a normal part of your everyday life. So we're first going to go with some alternative therapies like meditation, yoga, and acupuncture and acupressure. And I'm sure you're sitting there going, what or how can acupuncture or acupressure help me even getting pregnant or thinking about becoming pregnant? Well, guess what, guys? I've done a podcast all directly for you, episode 59, the benefits and risks of acupuncture during pregnancy, and a lot more too, FYI. But acupuncture is a great way because of the fact that it helps you to be non-medicated. It helps to basically center all of you when it comes to the alternative therapies and to be in a good state of mind. Because when all else fails, when we can't figure out medically why your body is deteriorating, guess what we say? It's got to be stress. So if you're a person that has a bunch of stress or just can't sleep, pick up No Sleepless Nights Band, something that will help you put you off to sleep faster and get you off to sleep much longer. Now, exercise. I know, everyone says it, but it is incredible for building endorphins or happy hormones. 30 minutes a day. I know that seems like a difficulty, but even getting your heart rate going up over 15 minutes a day is really all it takes. 3 to 5 times a week, 30 minutes a day, boom, perfect recipe for success. It can be low to moderate. It doesn't have to be crazy, but avoid over exercising. Okay. So, and I use this as an example. You have to make sure that you are in the middle. Okay, not too much, not too little, just right, the Goldilocks theory. If you're over exercising, sometimes you can strip away all of the fat that could potentially be around your fertility or woman-like structures and hormones and organs, and you don't have enough to feed off of when it needs energy. Okay, so if you strip away all the fat, that's the reason why a lot of these Olympic gymnasts have or struggle with infertility, because they have no % body fat. On the opposite end, we talked about this in the last section, that women who are morbidly obese or very, very heavy have all too much insulation, and their sex hormones or their sex reproductive organs just don't work. Now, supplements. Okay, we're going to talk about a variety of different supplements that could potentially be helpful to this. Vitamins, minerals, phytoestrogenic substances, and hormone regulating supplements. This will keep you on your normal cycle so you know when you are ovulating. Okay, then diets. Again, and I hate to call it a diet because there's no such thing as a pregnancy diet, but complex carbs, lean protein, healthy fats, lots and lots of water. They say that there are about 10 superfoods that help you to boost your fertility. And I'm going to start with eggs. Okay. Eggs have 2 different components, from the actual egg white to the egg yellow, but the choline is incredible, again, to help boost brain boosting whenever you do get pregnant. But again, you need this ahead of time. Milk, whole milk for calcium, and whole milk actually has good saturated fats because you need that too. Olive oil, in the same category as good saturated fats, will help your HDL, which is, again, your different types of cholesterol. The good cholesterol will end up increasing when you use olive oil. Now you have broccoli, almonds, avocados, going back to those good saturated fats, oysters, and oysters, ladies, are an aphrodisiac. They make you want or desire to have sex. So it's not a task or a chore. It is a desire. Black beans are another great form. Salmon, omega fatty acids, that's another beautiful one that most people don't really regard as a fertility boosting food. And then brown rice. Notice I didn't say white rice, going back to what we had said before. These are those complex carbohydrates that our body needs. Don't be afraid to start taking prenatal vitamins. Sometimes you're lacking in B vitamins. Folic acid is another one that we talk about all the time. And include more proteins, more greens whenever you're possible or whenever you're able to. All of these things are amazing ways to naturally help you to get pregnant from fertility substances. But the most important thing is increase your ovulation, right? How do you increase ovulation? Well, let me tell you, through antioxidants. So antioxidants are free radical fighting antioxidants that help to do a lot of different things in your body. But again, they kind of trap in the bad excess that your body gives out, and it helps you to have a better sense of well-being. And did you know, for example, a cup of blackberries contains almost the same amount of antioxidants than all other berries? So it's the same as eating blueberries and strawberries and cranberries and raspberries. So you really are getting half of your vitamin C all from blackberries. So add that to your snacking foods. Same thing is with strawberries, okay? You get your burst of fiber and your vitamin C all from one whole cup. And then again, an artichoke, it has the same amount of fiber that you need from most of these other type of bread-like situations that most people talk about. And same thing is with walnuts, only 15 to 20 halves. So just think about it, it's about like 7 or so. They're great, they're cholesterol free, they're low in sugar and sodium, and nuts have good mindful type of calories is what I like to call it. So these are all perfect ways to help you get into your most fertile self today. So now you know the science behind what can cause infertility. 5 different medical indications that even though you're ovulating properly, you're just not getting pregnant. You also know if it's not you, it's him. And then most importantly, you now know why all of those things exist and how to naturally help to boost your fertility, ultimately to give you the answers, best information about pregnancy that there is to date. If you love me, Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, let me know with 5-star hearts for ratings or hearts for likes. And don't forget to download this episode, but more importantly, share it with all your prego friends. Thanks again for listening to Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, episode 62, Why Am I Not Getting Pregnant? Ladies, go out there, get pregnant, and keep listening. Thanks.
Pukeology Podcast. Edutainment at its finest.